What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Country Bunkers Trains. Hope all is well and you've been doing good. I can't lie, it's been a pretty rocky road here. This past quarter or so of 24 has proven to be a real bitch. But it's all good, we're here, we're fine, and we're powering through. Back in the end of September, we did have Hurricane Helene come through with her fury. But again, like I say, thankfully, we're all right. The house is fine. The garage is fine. We didn't have any huge casualties. We did have some trees come down, causing some damage. We did lose one of our background pieces. One of the trees fell on Sabrina's poor Plymouth Caravelle that we usually see hanging out outside that window there. It totaled that car out. It didn't completely crush it, but where it landed on the car, yeah, it's a write-off, unfortunately. Another of the trees that came down landed on the incoming power lines to the house and ripped the power meter off of the house. That turned into a bit of a pain. We had to get an electrician involved and deal with the power company. It took about a week, but we finally had power once again. In the grand scheme of things, I really can't complain. People just north of us, man, they really took a beating from that storm. I couldn't fathom. Some folks lost everything. I keep them in my thoughts. Hopefully their road to recovery is as smooth sailing as it can be. About a week or so later, after dealing with the storm stuff, I got the dreaded phone call that nobody ever wants to get. My dad and sister calling to inform me that we had lost Mom. Mom was involved in an awful car accident and unfortunately did not make it. My wife Sabrina and I had to instantly hop on a plane and head north to spend time with the family and, of course, help out with the final arrangements. Yeah, not a fun time at all. I want to extend a big thank you to everybody who's reached out and sent condolences and whatnot. It really does mean the world. There's a ton that I would love to say, but honestly, there's nothing that can be said. I mean, it's Mom, you know what I mean? There's nothing that can be said about that. But if you would, please join me real quick in a big salute to Mom, to Heidi, taken from us way too soon. As beside ourselves as we are, we do take solace in knowing you're up there with the big man, you're hanging out with your parents once again, and you're back together with your first baby, your dog Toby. And knowing you've probably already attended a few John Denver concerts. So here's to you, Mom. Love ya. On a much brighter note, obviously, we're back home. We're back here in the train room. We've got power, and everything here at the house is pretty much back to normal, thank God. I've been doing quite a bit of work in here, as you might be able to tell. I've been leaning on the train room pretty hard. It's been helping to keep my mind off of things, and we've been getting some things accomplished. I've been a bridge-building fool in this SOB, man. But before I get ahead of myself, let's pick up where we left off in our last update video so long ago. Starting out over here on the now older layout, please excuse the mess. Like I say, I've been pretty busy in here. But we did get this bridge fully installed, all painted up, got it mounted to the table, the track work secured down, and wiring ran. It's fully operational. I did take a stab at weathering this bridge, as you might be able to tell. And to be honest, I'm not overly ecstatic with how it turned out. This is the single largest piece I've ever tried weathering, and I think because of that, that's why I'm not overly happy with it. But yeah, the best way I can describe it, if you get in close to the bridge and just focus on one small section at a time, I think it looks great. It kind of pulls off the look that I was going for. But when you stand back and take it all in from a more normal viewing distance, the best way that I can describe it kind of reminds me of 80s camouflage, just kind of blotchy. So yeah, I don't know, not super thrilled with it. The York Hotel here kind of breaks up that look of the bridge, so I do believe we are going to move our York Hotel in this general area to help out with the bridge. Because, yeah, I'm not redoing this bridge. We already got a bunch of time and effort into it, and we're going to roll with it how it is. But it is up, and like I say, it is operational. Moving on to the new layout, as you can see, we do have a new scene that we got placed, our Home in the Hills scene. I talked about this briefly in the last update video, and I was a little apprehensive about doing it. I wasn't sure how it was going to work out with the house here and the bridge going overhead. But now that it's all here, I'm very happy with how it turned out. Quite proud of how this scene turned out. I think it came out really good. As you can see, we got the home here in the hills. Got some dogs running around. We've got a young family here enjoying a fire. Got dad or grandpa doing some grilling, a picnic table with a cooler of beer chilling in the background. All kinds of nice little neat stuff. I'd like to add some more to this eventually. But for now, yeah, I'm really happy with how it's going. Over here we do have, this is a new piece from Woodland Scenics, a little clubhouse or tree house. Thought that was pretty cute. I'd love to add some more kids. As you can see, we got one kid, a bike, and his dog. But kids in O scale are hard to come by. I'm probably going to have to pick some more kids out of future packs that we pick up to install over here eventually. This was a real simple and easy scene to put together as well. Foam board was used to create the hills, good old trusted foam board insulation, and cardboard was used for the driveway. I did use some plaster cloth to give the hills some body and shape around the driveway. Once that was done and in place, painted it brown like the rest of the layout to blend in, and then I covered everything in our dirt that we've been using. I wasn't sure where I was going to have our pathways or driveway quite yet. I just masked those off when I was applying the ground cover. For the grass around the house, I used Woodland Scenics blended turf as well as some coarse turf to give it more of a well-looked-after lawn like it's been mowed. And then for all the greenery for the rest of the scene, I used our new Adirondack blend from Scenic Express. Really love this stuff. But yeah, I just sprinkled that all throughout and ran with it. And like I say, I think it came out quite well. Along with that, as you can see, we did get the mountain behind the house all painted up and done up, and that came out real well too. One last thing I wanted to add to this scene was to give it a little bit more life and add some more lighting. And I had a little bit of a hard time trying to figure out what to put over here. Yeah, the house is lit up, but this is a big section or big corner to have only that lit up. I've thought about maybe installing some lampposts or some driveway lights, but that really wouldn't fit in with this kind of country home in the hills. But then I remembered I had a few of these Menards lighted vehicles, and I think this did the trick spot on. I think this worked perfect. Got this wired up and installed on the driveway coming up, and this helped add that little bit of extra lighting that we were looking for. And yeah, I think that added quite a bit to the scene. What do you guys think? Real quick as we move on, some new arrivals that showed up this week. I reached back out a little while back to the East Coast Enterprises guys, or the guys over at trainlayouts.com, and picked up 2 more of their building flats to go along with their big factory building flat that I picked up a little while back. These will be getting installed right here. This is going to be our little metropolitan area of this small layout over here. And I definitely wanted to get some more of their building flats because these things are absolutely gorgeous. As you can tell, I got to get them lit up and fully placed still. I got to do a little bit of work to them before they get installed. But yeah, just a quick mention. Hopefully we'll be seeing these sporting their lights and everything sometime soon. All right, moving on. Before we could get any of the bridges installed or placed, the first thing we had to do was get our tunnel portals made and put in place. I feel like these are kind of the overlooked and undesired pieces of the layout, but we definitely do need them. They do add a lot, even if they are overlooked. I've gone over these several times already here on the channel, but just to give a brief refresher real quick, I do make these, once again, out of our foam insulation board. I get the measurements and cut them all out, go over them with some sandpaper to smooth them out, and then I take an X-Acto knife and cut out all the cement and brickwork. I follow all those cut lines with a toothpick to open up those cuts, open the gaps up, give the brickwork some definition and some shape, and then everything gets painted. A big thank you to my wife this go around. She helped me paint these ones. She actually did all the paint work on them. That saved me some work. Like I've said in the past, these are not at all hard to make. They're just time consuming and tedious. But once they do get their coat of paint, they do get weathered. They get a couple coats of weathering, actually. I just go over them with a heavy black wash. A first coat of black wash to do the whole tunnel porthole. And then a couple spots of real heavy black wash to give the effect of smoke and soot over the track work where the engines are running through. And once all of that is completed, I give them some moss or some vines that are growing on them. To do this, I just take a little bit of Elmer's glue and paint on the design where I want the greenery to go, and then sprinkle on Woodland Scenics blended turf. I think that gives a real nice effect to them. But yeah, like I say, kind of an overlooked and undesired piece of the layout, perhaps. But again, they really do add a lot. And now we get to the big stuff, the milestone stuff that we finally hit here on the layout. And let's start out with the biggest and baddest, right? As you can see, we did finally get our East Coast Enterprises 5-foot truss bridge finally installed here on the layout. And man, doesn't this thing look badass. What do you guys think? This thing is just awesome. I picked this bridge up back at this spring 2024 York, and I've been dying to get it placed here on the layout ever since. Now, before it did go up, I did obviously give it a coat of paint. Just like all the other bridges now in here, it has been painted in Rust-Oleum satin black. As you can see, I did not weather it. I decided against it, especially since I was a little unhappy with how that other one turned out. I didn't want to take my chances on this bridge. This bridge is entirely too nice and too expensive to end up with a shoddy paint job on it. So yeah, I wasn't taking my chances. And plus, I'm trying to model more of a steam era on this layout over here. And I figure, you know, at the time, this would have been a much newer bridge and would have had a lot better upkeep at the time. So yeah, it wouldn't be all rusty and nasty anyway, right? Hey, at least it sounds good. That's what I'm telling myself, and I'm sticking to it. To finish the span, I built one of our standard bridges like we've seen before, just like the first one we looked at in this video. I'm sure this looks very familiar to a lot of you, as this is the leftover or reused material from the Big Red Bridge. The bridge side plates or the truss rail. It's just been repainted black. I did have to cut new 1/2-inch MDF throughout all the bridges because the original red bridge material just wasn't the correct size or to the right contours. On the opposite side of the layout, we have a little bit of a mix of old and new with this MTH bridge. Part of this might look familiar to some of you as well. The main bridge itself was my original silver bridge that's been on all of my layouts. I've had this for a number of years, but I decided to go ahead and repaint it black for a couple of reasons. The main one being I wanted this bridge to match all the other ones here in the train room. I wanted everything to be symmetrical and the same, so I got the same coat of black. But the second reason is my man Tony over at Roundhouse South Trains located in Port Orange hooked me up with the little add-on pieces. I got 4 of them, 1, 2, 3, 4. Only 3 of them were the same silver color as the original bridge here, and the 4th one was red. So that was another reason to get them all painted the same color. Along with that, he also helped me out. This bridge with its blinking light hasn't worked in decades. I had lost the original controller or computer board that controls that light, and the light had burned out. So I did get a replacement board through him as well as a replacement bulb. And it's really cool once again to see it here working. And that brings us to the front side of the layout here, through our walkway. As you can see, we continued on with our own little homemade girder bridges here. These are built the exact same way with 1/2-inch MDF on this side, as well as the side over here, this little section. For these, I went a little extra on, though. I wanted to make sure they were sturdy and not going to move. These are all glued and screwed in place on all of the supports. And then the supports here towards the walkway entrance got some extra supporting brackets screwed into the table. That was to ensure these sections of bridges were never going to move because, again, the big span that crosses our walkway. Now, the way that this new bridge works, this is simply, see if I can do it one-handed, a lift-out bridge. That's all that it is. So we can now lift out the top section, set this over to the side here, and we can still swing up our main section to access the middle of the layout. Now, although this is fairly simple, this came out quite fancy, didn't it? I even impressed myself with how well this worked. But to accomplish this, what I did, I had some, I think it's 1-inch wide, 3/16 metal stock or metal bar that I cut some brackets for, and then I am reusing from the old Red Bridge. These are these old leg supports from the Red Bridge, and the measurement that we needed worked out perfect to support the actual spanning bridge. This is that 3/4 inch plywood instead of MDF or pressboard. I wanted a little extra sturdiness, just as we did on this bridge here. But the measurement that I got from the old wood legs from the old red bridge worked out perfect to match the height where the track work is laid. So I got these placed. I did make an extra long bracket here, as you can see. This doubles as not only the support, but this is the supporting arm for the swing bridge. When it lifts up, it actually rests on this. I took some of that leftover Woodland Scenics foam roadbed and used some tape and attached it here. That way, because it lands on a piece of the track here, I didn't want it scratching up or gnarling up the track when the bridge is in the up position. Now for the spanning bridge itself, I found these cheap 5/16 inch brass locating pins on Amazon. These are just very basic brass locating pins for tables. As you can see, you got a male and a female. And these are actually used in two ways. They're twofold. One, they're used to center and locate and place the actual spanning bridge physically. But I also soldered our wire connections, since they're brass, straight to these pins. So not only do they hold and support the bridge and center the bridge, but they also power the lift-out section of bridge. I had read about this on one of the forums a little while back, and it's impressed me with how well that it's worked. Now, I did, for extra insurance or precaution, we do have both sides wired up. We all know wood likes to expand and contract and whatnot. That way, in the future, if one of these pins does lose electrical continuity or connection, we have another set of pins on the other side to hopefully connect. That doesn't seem to have been an issue as of yet, but again, you never know. You can see the wires coming up into them. To solder to these, I did take a file and rough up the back sides pretty good. That way the solder had something good to stick to. But yeah, this is working out quite well. Now, since I did have to drill through all pieces of wood here, or both pieces of wood, and with the wiring being soldered on the back side of those pins, I kind of had to run my wiring along the top edge of this bridge. As you can see, it's not really that pretty to look at. You can see these little dabs of hot glue that are holding the wiring up against the bottom edge of that foam track bed. I'm not all that worried about it. We can hide that in the future once we get our ballast installed. And of course, once we get our girder plates installed on the side of the bridge, that'll hide a lot of it. Like I say, not really the most pretty thing to look at the moment, but it's working and it's functioning, and that's all we really need out of it. Along with getting the lift out section all wired up, I did get the entire upper loop wired up, installed, and in place. If you guys can believe it or not, the upper loop is finally live and operational. How cool is that? So much satisfaction coming out of that. Not so much for this new layout over here. We knew that day was coming, but to finally see trains running over here on the upper loop of the older layout, yeah, I can't tell you how satisfying that is. I mean, hell, we built that back section how long ago? 2-3 years ago now? To finally see trains running through it? Yeah, it's awesome. Now, I will say I intend for this upper loop to mainly be smaller to medium-sized steam. That's due to the track work. It's all 054 curves. But I do want to run a little bit of everything on it. I've been testing it the last couple nights. I had some modern engines on it with some modern rolling stock, some much larger stuff. And the last couple nights I've been testing out this larger steam engine. This will probably be the biggest steam engine that we run on this loop. But it's handling it so far. What do you guys say we take this one out for a spin? That's what's here on the layout right now. Let's try it out. How cool is that? I tell you what, several of you have been screaming at me for forever that we should connect both layouts. Well, now they're finally connected. We at least have one loop running between the two. I hope you're happy. Let me know in the comments below. I tell you, I am very happy. I'm ecstatic with it. Not only do we have it up and running, but we can start running some nice long trains. Sure, it's only 054 track work, but we can still have a lot of fun with it. I'm also real excited with this done and out of the way. Now we can start turning our focus back to scenery work and getting this first layout all done up. And that's really what I'm mostly excited for. But again, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm sorry if I seem a little off. Honestly, I'm sure I'm going to be a little off for a little while after what's happened the past couple of months. But do bear with me. We're getting through it and doing what we can do. But again, I hope you guys had fun with this video. As always, until next time, my name is Zach, and this is Country Bunkers Trains. Y'all take care. I'll see you the next go-around.